feel like, you were part of that tide. You were in the beginning of it. You weren't in the back of it. You were in the front end, and you were just part of the evolution of this entire industry that has now become so big. And really all this, all the SEO and the Google ads and the Facebook ad, all of this stuff now really matters. And algorithms, like all this stuff really matters.
All of that stuff matters.
But yeah, all of it matters. But before these things became even pertinent to our business and the growth of our business, how did you realize it? And then how did you as a business start adapting to it? And when did you also start realizing that you are a legitimate business?
I think for me, I didn't really acknowledge my side of the blog as a true business. I was like, oh, that's kind of like a side hustle. I think I viewed it more as a side hustle because I knew it would take a little bit of time for me to get some money. I put Google ads up. I made like $5 in 3 months. There wasn't a lot of traffic coming, but I really honed into the virtual assistant side where I could learn as I earn money. And so the bloggers that I worked for all were pretty, for the most part, very open about like how, behind the scenes. I got to read some of the first brand proposals that they had coming in, and I would help them meet all the deadlines and guidelines. The new Social Fabric came about, which is influencer marketing agencies that brands contract them to contract bloggers. So they're like the middleman. Mm-hmm. So that was my first exposure to really seeing okay, I saw how much she was going to make from this. Then I saw how much I was getting paid. And I was like, wait a minute. That's really how it transferred from me working for somebody else to seeing what they're making and what I'm making. And
and then seeing your value and the value that you should be putting on your work that you're doing for others.
Exactly. Because it was really hard sometimes to see, okay, well, they just got, these people raving about a recipe that I just wrote for them. Yeah. And I was like, dang it, I could have, done that on my own blog. And maybe I wouldn't have gotten the immediate $12.50, but I would have gotten the long-term traffic and more audience growth that way. So when I finally made that switch to not just be focused solely on my VA side, that's when I started to see growth.
But when you're looking at all these different blogs or these groups and what other people are doing, did it sometimes give you that FOMO or that, oh my gosh, I need to go do this? Or, when you're like...
All the time.
Or imposter syndrome or, all the negative stuff.
All the time.
So how did you fight that? How did you overcome it?
Lots of self-pity and I'm being honest. A lot of times I would get frozen and I just wouldn't do the thing. There was a blog post that I wanted to write for years and I just wouldn't do it because I just couldn't get it perfect in my head. And finally, it took one of my masterminds a couple years ago. They're like, we're not going to leave the room until you write that post. And the response I got to was so encouraging. And it was so many other women felt like that. I think the thing is, as a mom, we do get imposter syndrome. We do feel a lot of well, I'm late to the game, so I might as well not play. But if we brought our kids late to a baseball game, we were like, get out there, get on the field and go do your best.
Yeah.
But we never say that to ourselves. And we don't make it, they're like, oh, sorry, we're late to the game. I guess I'll just hide back here. And if you need me, maybe call on me. That's what I did to myself for a while until I learned, I had a couple women come into my life where they're like, yeah, you are valuable. Keep doing what you're doing. And they encouraged me and became cheerleaders. And that was a pivotal moment in my career there. Can't get it out, but it's there.
I got you. Thank you. If you were to give some advice to a mom today, say a coaching client who comes to you and says, oh my gosh, what do? I feel so overwhelmed with everything around me. What would be some of the tricks or the tools that you would say, top 3 things that you would say to do in order to help overcome those negative feelings?
Right. Okay. So the first one I would say you need a cheerleader for sure. Somebody who could pour into you and tell you to stop thinking that way or stop saying that to yourself, and who will call you on the carpet because you need that person. And we can fake it to probably 90% of the people we know, if not 95, but getting that one person in your life, you're like, I'm going to just admit to you all the bad things I'm thinking and you're going to help me. The other thing is to do it scared.
Yeah.
I literally had it on my wall for a while. You've done harder things than this. One of my friends pointed out to me, she's like, you literally almost died having a baby. You almost, lost a child. And then you adopted kids. I think you've done some pretty hard things. Hitting publish on a blog post is not that hard. And I was like, yeah.
It's so true though, right?
I made it scary. I made it so scary. So she told me, like, you should just remind yourself, like, I've done harder things than this. And I put it on there. Do it scared. You've done harder things than this. And I would look at it and remember, like, this is not scary compared to what we've already done in our family. And this might help somebody else who is scared. Somebody said to me recently, one of my other clients, she's like, oh, you make it sound so easy to pitch to brands. I'm like, oh, I was shaking in my boots the first time. I was like, who am I? What do I think I am? I'm not the biggest blogger in the world or the best. And why am I pitching this brand? And once I started doing it, it became easier and easier and more natural, and the words flowed out in ways that were more authentic to me and not so rigid or copycat to another blogger's template, which I played off of when I first started. So now when I pitch to brands or help somebody else pitch to brands, I'm like, I'm super comfortable with this. But if you would have asked me 4 years ago, I'd be like, I can't do that.
It's almost like you experimented, you tried, you tested, and it just kind of bumped you into the next level of whatever you were doing. So this is Law Chat, and I need to have some legal chit chat going on with you too. So tell me, earlier you were talking about writing for other people and for other blogs. Did you at that time ever encounter some legal issues where you're like, oh gosh, I wish I knew this beforehand?
Yeah, I do. A lot of it was just ignorance. I didn't have a contract for my first VA job. So it was just all like, yeah, sure, we can do that. Or, hey, yeah, that works for me. So not having that certainty of what expectations were caused a lot of problems. One, on when I would get paid. So I had to chase, like, I would feel bad because she was like, oh, okay, I'll pay you once a month. And I would feel terrible because I would send her an invoice, like send her amount of what I did, the work I did. And she's like, okay. And then I would not get paid and be like, I'm still doing work. Yeah. I'm still contributing work for the next month and I'm still not getting paid.
Oh gosh.
So how do you hound a friend with money? And money's hard for me to talk about. So right at the beginning, so I was like, so you still haven't paid me? Yeah. And the expectations weren't like, hey, you'll be paid 2 weeks after you send me the invoice, which is what she needed, but she wouldn't just say that.
Yeah.
Or the other thing was work. So I did some videos for you remember when the overhead cooking videos came out? Yes. And they were huge on Facebook. Everybody was doing them.
Yes.
So she wanted me to create some recipe videos for her. And I was like, great. So I did a couple. And then she sent me an email. Oh, by the way, because she knew I was taking on new clients. She's like, by the way, I don't want you to do the same style of video for anyone else. You like the same angle and the same look. If you do it for somebody else, it has to be different. And I'm like, how is that possible? How can you tell me that? Because one, it's an overhead video.
Yeah.
You can't tell me I can't make an overhead video for anybody else, number one.
Right.
Number two, I have white countertops. I mean, they're white countertops. That, you can't tell me I can't use that for any other content. And she was paying me very little for these videos at the time. And it just blew my mind. And I was really like, wait a minute. And she really got protective of the content that I was creating for her. And she let me go as a VA with very abruptly. And then I know why, because I made a video for somebody else and it was not the same recipe, but it was the same equipment, same angle, the same counter. And I didn't go out and buy new dishes. So same dishes. And so, if she wanted that, then she would have needed to up my price and give me more money. But you can't copyright kind of thing or have exclusivity to an angle of a camera. But just being okay with standing in myself and saying, no, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And if you do want that, you're going to pay me some big bucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So live and learn in that one. But because we did not have a clear contract, that was kind of through email, her just suddenly being like, oh, as a VA, I was like, but I wanted more money and I have more time and you don't want to give me more work. So the turn from that, if she wanted me to be her VA and only her VA, she should have upped my price.
Then you're not a VA anymore. You're an employee.
Yes.
And you're not an independent contractor.
See, exactly. That's what I needed.
That's something though. I want to hear some cool, fun facts about you. So you're such a blog junkie. What's your favorite blog aside from yours?
Oh man. For actual blog to read, I still love reading The Pioneer Woman when she puts out a blog post because I love her writing style. And I think she's super fun and relatable.
Oh, I love that. And then what about a book? Favorite biz book or personal book?
Right now, I'm just finishing up You're a Badass at Making Money. So I always love the book I'm reading. I'm one of those people. I'm terrible. But I did love Story Brand.
Yes. I'm reading that right now. I'm reading that right now.
Really good.
And what are your favorite biz tools or apps that you just can't live without?
Can't live without Trello. So
I do love Trello too.
I am a huge Trello fan. In fact, I'm creating a Trello training right now because I love it so much and I keep telling people about it and they're like, well, how do you use it? So I'm like, well, I'm going to have to make a training for that because I keep repeating myself. So I use it for everything, ideas. I'm a huge list and note taker, but then I lose where I put them. So Trello changed my life when I started using it because I can still write things down on pen and paper, but then when I'm done, I could put it into an organized place that lives forever. And I know exactly. So now if I'm on a walk, which I get my best ideas when I'm out on a walk, I'm on a walk listening to a podcast and suddenly an idea pops in my head. Instead of writing it on a note or trying to remember it, which I will not, I can write it on a Trello board where I know these ideas go. Whether it be idea for a Christmas gift or idea for my business, anything, a good quote. Yeah. I know where it's supposed to go and then I can find it again.
I love Trello. They have an app also, which is amazing.
So anything I update on my computer, it updates on my phone and vice versa. I even have my schedule on there now. But, it's helping me get things done. And I like dragging those cards around and saying, nope, not today, and putting it on another time. But I don't have to keep thinking about it. I think that's something I realize as moms. We're thinking about so many things at the same time. We're thinking about dentist appointments and kids' grades and what we're making for dinner, plus all the business stuff. We just can't hold all that in our heads. So I'm a big promoter of dump out all the things you think you have to do and then choose 4 of them that you actually need to do. Yeah. And have 4 things on your to-do list today instead of 25 that you're never going to get all those done.
That's my thing too. 4 to-dos per day. So, so tell us where we can find you and sign up.
You can send me a DM at Lani Jackson, or you can email me at hello@lanijackson.com. And I would love to.
I'm going to have all of these links and the way to contact you in the show notes. And again, if anybody misses that, you can DM me and I'll forward you the information as well.
So thank you for having me on here and letting me share my story.
Yes. And I can't wait to jump on a real call with you. That is going to be one-on-one. Okay, guys. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Lani. And we'll catch you next week. Bye.